Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, and as what you've probably already figured out, we're trying to get back to making some videos. And I appreciate all of our new subscribers, all of our old subscribers for helping us grow. We've been very busy this year, all summer into the fall. We've got a lot of things that we're doing. This is one of the things that we're doing, as you saw from the previous video. But we've just got a lot going on. It's something we're doing for sustainability for ourselves, but also hopefully to help educate other people on how they can do that also. What I've got right here is a Neotec NS872, and it's from, like I mentioned before in the previous video, it's from a new company that they make a lot of equipment, power sports equipment for home and garden use. One of the things they make is chainsaws. This particular saw, the NS872, is similar to STIHL's MS380, I think, MS381. They were gracious enough to send us a couple of saws to review for them, and they're not paying us. I'm about to get stung by a yellow jacket. They're not paying us to make these videos, but they did ask us if we would make some consumer reviews for them, so we're going to do that. So they sent us this saw. They sent us a bar for it. There's probably a chain in here, so let's get into it. This company has been around for a couple of years to my knowledge. I've looked at them. I know over a year ago I looked at them. I've looked at several. We use a lot of chainsaws. We use a lot of equipment. A lot of equipment here. And chainsaws is one of those things that, not that you can have too many, not that you can have too little of them, but it's definitely something that's, it's going to be a consumable item that you go through when you live on a farm or a farmstead, homestead. So this is the bar. And like the other saw, this looks to be a stainless steel bar. So this is the bar that they sent us with it. I know they have several different types, but looks like it's got a replaceable sprocket tip. This is your grease hole here. But whenever you replace these things, what you'll do is just drill this rivet out, put your new tip on there, and pop you another rivet in it. But it's a really nice looking bar. Looks to be, it doesn't look like it's welded, so what it looks like is, this is, and I could be wrong, this does not look laminated, because generally when they're laminated, you'll see some spot welds where it's welded all the way across it. I wouldn't, this might be a machine, actually it is a machine bar. So if you look at it right here, this started out as one solid piece of stainless steel, and they machined it. So that's pretty nice. Very nice. That is a nice bar. Well, there's your bar. Let's get into the saw. Alright, so let's get into the box here. Now, this is how it was packaged. It looks like the packaging is very nice. They ship it with some earmuffs, your little tool bag, your fuel mixture bottle here. This one has a little instruction manual, some gloves with either silicone or rubber on them. There's your bar scabbard, and here is the saw, chain, and some safety glasses. See, the packaging is pretty nice, very nice packaging. And these saws, right now you can only get them on Amazon, I believe. When we talked to the manufacturer, it was about a 2-week turnaround when they said they were going to ship us the saws, and they came direct from Amazon. But it's about a 2-week turnaround as I drop pieces of equipment here. So yeah, it looks just like a STIHL MS380, and actually this is like a skid plate. That's pretty nice. Normally you'd pay 20-30 bucks for this, and so what this does, this is your fuel tank. On a chainsaw, your fuel tank's actually the handle. This is your fuel tank, but this also is part of the fuel tank, and this is glued to this side of the handle. This is a skid plate. So this would come on, and the bolts that mount your left hand handle would come out, and you would fasten the bolts right here. That way you can protect your fuel tank. That's pretty nice. If this comes standard, that's a very, very nice option. Let's get this out of the way here. So you've got, looks like a metal starter rope cover. These are your gun sights. Basically, if you're cutting with a saw, these are the sights you would use to engineer the direction that the tree is going to fall based on your cuts. So a lot of times they'll have just this line across the top and one side of the saw, and so you would use that line to know what direction your tree is going to fall. While we're here, this is your decomp button. So when you go to crank this, you would press this button in, and it's a compression release to help you crank it. This is a 72cc saw, so it's a fairly large engine. This is something that you would use for cutting firewood, cutting large trees. You know, this is definitely a saw that you could use for everyday use. Whether or not, you know, it can withstand that, I don't know yet. We'll figure that out. But definitely, if it's patterned after the MS380 STIHL, you know, that saw is a commercial saw, and it's intended to be used every single day. The controls are similar to STIHL. STIHL, basically, you know, this is your safety, your throttle, and to operate the throttle, your safety has to be down to be able to move the trigger. All the way up on a STIHL is off. Pull the trigger, press all the way down is choke. Whenever it goes to half start, it will come up, and that's half choke. And then whenever you go to full start, it'll come up to run. And then to turn it off, move it all the way up. So that's basically how most STIHLs operate. It does have the, I think, quarter turn caps. And there you go. And of course, this is a captive cap. And there's a little notch for it in here somewhere for it to catch, but I'm not going to find it right now. But that's pretty nice. When you go to add fuel, it makes it easier with that lever to turn, because a lot of times saws will get oily and grimy, and they can be difficult to either fuel up or oil up. This thing looks very robustly built. Let's flip it over and look at the bottom real quick. So looking at the bottom here, looks like all magnesium case. Of course, the fuel tank's just about always plastic, which is this right here. But this is definitely magnesium or aluminum. This right here is your oiler adjustment. And so this lets you have more or less oil for your bar, which that's pretty nice. It looks like they've got a sponge around it, which is normal because it will weep oil. Your air filter cover, it looks like it's a quarter turn air filter cover. This also helps with debris right here because it will pull air in. Of course, this is your air filter. You do have to have a screwdriver to take this off, which I'm sure is in this little kit right here. Okay, so this is what comes in the kit. Carburetor, your scrinch, and a T27. That's pretty nice. So we should be able to take the air filter off right here. Yeah. So what's nice about this is that you can clean it. So you can actually, a lot of times people don't realize that you can take these filters apart and you want to clean the top and the bottom, which this is actually really nice. And you can see how this goes together. It's kind of like a clamshell. And then you press back together here. And there you go. I'm guessing this is to help release it. What I like to do with these is where they go together right here, where they sit in the carb, I like to put a little dab of grease. That way it'll catch dust here and there to keep it from going down in the carb. While we're here, this is your breather for your fuel tank for pressure. As it heats up, then you'll have pressure here, and this will kind of works like a burp valve. Looking at the carb, the rubber on them looks pretty nice. Looks to be pretty nice rubber. It does have a Walbro carb on it. So the Walbro carb, I don't know if you probably can't read it, but the top of it says Walbro. Walbro is pretty much the standard for carburetors on any piece of equipment. Walbro is a nice upgrade, so that's pretty nice. The controls, they look pretty solid. Of course, this is chrome steel. That just means it's going to last longer. That looks pretty nice. It's pretty good. The spark plug boot, that looks really nice also. A lot of other manufacturers, spark plug boots are a big deal, and this one looks to be pretty nice. Let's get this back together here. And I'm not going to put the grease on it just yet, because we're not going to stick it in wood just right now. Put this back on here. Try not to break it as I'm going here. Well, like I said, you can find these right now on Amazon. We'll put a link in the description for that. While I'm over here, got this cover off, I'm going to show you. So this is your idle adjustment. Right here where it says L, this is your low speed air fuel mixture. This is your high speed air fuel mixture, where this side is right here. And it looks like that's what this screwdriver right here is for. We'll go ahead and see where we're at with this. I like how they've got this little tab. So this little tab is a reference. And so that lets you know where you started, because basically if it just looked like that, you just see a circle. You don't really know where your start and stop point is. But this little tab lets you know when you put it in the notch, you can see you're straight up and down right there. And so I'm going to turn this till it stops all the way in. We know when it's up, that's one full turn. So that's one full turn. We're going to go again. And so it's down and it stops. So that's 1.5 turns is full in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn it 1.5 turns out. And so I'm going to bring this back up. Put it back in our groove in the screw. We're in the groove. When I get back around, that's 1 turn out. When I go down, that's 1/2 turn. So that's 1.5 turns from full in. So we'll see where we're at here. So we know we're on the side here. So when we get back there, that's 1 turn in. It's 1 turn in right there. All right, so basically it's 1 full turn out is where it was. So that's where I'm going to put it. I'm going to take it back to this spot out. All right, so that's 1 turn out. That's where I'm going to leave it. And we'll start from there. We know that on the high it's 1 turn out. On the low, it's 1.5 turns out. Let's put our carb back on here, our air filter cover back on. And this right here. And so basically, 1/4 turn, and there's your filter cover. So that's on. Okay. Alright, so let's get back to our clutch cover here. Looks like a 19 millimeter, I believe. Looks like on this cover you've got a little place where you can put some extra dogs on it for cutting. Just makes it easier. This has an inboard clutch, so to get to your clutch you would have to pull this cover off, which is not a bad thing. Your spur gear is made into the clutch pulley itself. I like this design better because it's easier to change your clutch spur gear versus just a clutch sprocket gear. Sprocket gears are a little bit more troublesome than the types that are made into the clutch drum itself. So typically what you would do is just take your small screwdriver and pop that out. After you've got this cover off, it'll all come off in one assembly. This is your chain adjuster right here. This is the actual screw that you would turn. This right here to adjust your chain. And it's very tough to turn right now. It probably needs some grease, which is something that I will do. Let's go ahead and do that. What we'll do is just put a little dab of oil on it right now. Typically I'll put grease on it. We'll put some oil on it. So this right here is your little shaft that you would use to lubricate. And so by turning this, let's just get a screwdriver here I have in my back pocket, and we will adjust this all the way out. Very, very similar to STIHL. Tell you what, let's turn it all the way in. Very similar to STIHL. Okay, so what I've got is just a little bit of bar oil. I'm putting it on the bolt that the adjuster actually rides on, and I'm going to run the adjuster just where it lubricates it. And I don't know if you can already tell, but it goes pretty well right there. What you can also do here is underneath this little plastic piece is the gear for the adjuster. Bet you didn't know you were getting into all this, Neotec. So let's pull this up. So you see these gears right here. This is why it's important whenever you get a saw, I don't care who it's from. This right here, you can see it's dry. Okay, so what we want to do is we just want to add a little bit of lubrication to this, which is what I'm going to do right now, which is just a little bit of oil. And I'm just doing that right now. Just so we can have something on it. And then what we will do later is we will put some grease on it. But right now, this will get us by. And I do this with every single chainsaw that I have. Except for the little toys. The toys, they don't get it. But these right here, they get it. So that should make everything function a lot better. There we go. Run this back, should be nice and smooth now. There we go. Much better. Put a little cover on. Oop, upside down. Put a cover on right here. Put the screw on here. And typically you can use Loctite on these. if you clean your saws often enough, which you should, then you should check all this stuff anyway. If you do use Loctite, use blue Loctite. It's not permanent. You use green Loctite, that's pretty permanent. So that's what you do here. It does have a nice chain buffer right here to keep from eating at the cover. That's your chain brake. Feels really tight. Compression. See what we have for compression here. Feels really good. So let's put a bar on it. Let's put a bar on it, and then we'll put some fuel in it, and we will see if we can get it started. This saw has not been started, so we'll go from there. I don't know if you guys or girls like messing with chains, but that's not one of my favorite things to do because they look like this. It's like a really interesting puzzle that can cut you a lot. And typically this takes me a couple of minutes to get done. It's a bunch of random movements until finally you figure out which way to go, which I still haven't done yet. And it looks like we're inside out there. So let's go back this way. Y'all want to help me with this? Okay. Alright, I think I got it right here. Right there. Looky there, we got it. Okay. So let's put our bar on here. Move some of these tools out of the way. Really impressed with this bar. Really impressed with this bar. So we want to move this chain all the way back to make it easier to assemble. So we're going to use the scrinch that was provided. So that's all the way back. Anybody know what's going on right here? You see what's going on? Look, chain's on backwards. So before we get too far, let's rotate it. Here we go. Now the chain's going on the right way. This is what's nice about the inboard clutch drums. It makes it really easy to get the chain on. So right here you can see I can't go any further because I've got to adjust the chain where we take up some slack. So let's adjust the chain here and you'll see the slack go away. Okay, so we're almost there. Like I always say, what I do whenever I've got a new chain is I will pull all this slack up right here, and I'm holding the tip of the bar up, and whenever I get the slack out, that's as tight as I want to get it. So there we go, slack's out of it. So now I'm going to put the cover on. Easy, girls. The hens are wanting some attention. I don't know if you folks have farm animals, but we've got a few of them. And chickens are like a mainstay for a farm. They're always a nice supply of food and eggs, or in meat if you like chicken. They help take care of bugs. They help to alert you whenever people are around. They've got some really nice habits in the sense that whenever they're active, they tend to do the same thing every day. So it's kind of nice to have them around. Alright, so I'm putting this on. I'm going to put it on just tight enough, and I don't know how to explain that to you, but for me, I've got a good idea what just tight enough is, and that's something that you just have to figure out on your own. So we want the chain to be able to move, but not to be too tight, which this is a little bit too tight right here. But it may loosen up just a little bit. So that's a little bit too tight, so I'm going to loosen it up a little bit. And so right now what I want to say is, why do you want to go with somebody like Neotec versus Husqvarna or Echo or STIHL or whoever? I've used Husqvarna for years, and the price of everything, whether it's a gallon of milk, a pound of ground beef, or whatever, is skyrocketing. It's been going up for several years now, and you know why. But you know, if you've got a lot of things that you've got to do, you have to have the tools to do it with, and this is one of these tools. If you're going to be doing a lot of cutting with a lot of trees for a long period of time, you need to have this kind of tool, whether it's this tool or a Neotec or a Husqvarna or a STIHL or whatever. It can cost a lot of money. Neotec is a very reasonably priced saw. How it's going to work, I don't know, but I am going to find out. To get the equivalent in a Husqvarna or a STIHL would cost you roughly $1,000, if not more than that. You can pick up used saws, and there's nothing the matter with used saws. It's just a matter of, you know, how wore they are. You know, if they're extremely wore, that's a lot of work to get a saw running well again and keep it running. This is a brand new saw, never been cranked before, and you can get into this saw, that bar, shipped from Amazon, I think, for less than 400 bucks. It took us about 2 weeks to get this saw, which is pretty good. There's other alternatives out there. FarmerTech, we have a lot of FarmerTech saws, and like I said, Neotec did send us this saw. They asked us to do a review in it, which is fine. We do not mind that, and it's just going to help us out. Maybe it'll help you out too, but it's just another alternative for you. This has not been cranked, has not been adjusted, and so what I'm going to do right now is crank it up, go through the normal starting positions you go through with it, and get it going and see how it goes. Maybe tune it. If it needs to be tuned, I'll tune it up. And I'm basically going to be breaking this saw in with doing a few cuts with it. So let's see how that works. Up to half choke. And then when it does crank, I'll let it run for a few seconds on high idle. I'll blip the throttle, and then it'll be on low regular idle. As you can see, the chain got really loose, which is to be expected. It's a brand new chain, but I did not do any adjustments on this saw. As of right now, it runs really well. I did checked to see where the carb adjustment screws were, and the low mixture screw was on 1 1/4 turns out from full in. The high mixture screw was 1 turn out from full in. And so right now I'm going to leave it right there because it seems to be running pretty good. I'm going to adjust this chain, and we will get it started again. And maybe if the chain doesn't loosen up too much more after that, we'll do some cuts with it. But right now, it runs really well. And that is on 25-to-1 fuel. So when it goes to 40-to-1, should have more power. But right now it feels pretty good. So let's crank it up again. The starting procedure here is it's already somewhat warm. So normally you would go all the way down, squeeze the trigger all the way down, that's full choke. We're only going to put it on half choke right now, which is 1 position up from all the way down. Press the decomp. What I did right here, as you can tell, this is oil, but I was just checking to make sure that the chain was oiling, and usually you'll do it on a piece of wood or ground or whatever, and you'll see a strip of oil come out, and that's what we have right here. So the chain loosened up a little bit more. I'm going to tighten it up one more time. Of course, you can see the oil here too. So we're oiling pretty good. The oiler was wide open. So now that we've got that going, just tighten it up one more time. And we should be ready to do some cuts with it. So loosen your clutch cover. Hold your bar tip up. And then pull the slack out. And there we are. And you continue to hold the tip up. Well, I gotta say I'm really impressed. I mean, this is a piece of equipment. I've used all kinds of equipment before. I've used lots of high-end and lots of low-end saws and this and that and the other, but you know, I've looked at this brand before, and I didn't buy it because they were brand new and there was only a couple of pieces of equipment out at the time, but there's a lot more out now than what there was in the past. And I do not care where this stuff comes from. It does not matter. What matters to me is how it's built, how it works, and how dependable it is. And I think it's a good testament when you can get one that's brand new out of the box, and especially if you go and do something like this and cut several cookies with it. That's one thing, but you take it and you go out and you take a piece of wood like this right here and you cut it going with the grain. Of course, it makes all these noodles, but when you cut it like this, and that shows you something, especially when you can bury the bar in the length of the bar, and this is a 24-inch bar, and it cuts really good. Now, not to say that I didn't modulate the throttle, I did, because you can put too much pressure on a bar and it'll bog it down, and it, it'll kill it. When I first cut this stump down, that's what I did. I turned it too fast and it bogged it down. But that's all in how you cut. But as for right now, this is the first time this saw has ever been ran that I know of. It runs really well. Clearly it cuts really well. Has no issue with it as of right now. Granted, it's only got about 15 minutes worth of runtime on it, but we're going to continue to use it. But as of right now, I'm pretty impressed. Runs just as good as any of the other saws that I have, and I have a lot of chainsaws. And for this thing running 25-to-1 fuel, that's really good. But like I said, it's brand new. This is Neotec. They're a fairly new company out there. They've got several different pieces of equipment. They did send us a couple of them to try out and to make reviews with them. And we will put them to use doing what we would normally do here. And if it breaks, then it breaks. If it doesn't, then that's great. But as of right now, I would continue to use this saw. It would be no issue. Right now, if I needed to turn around and buy one just like it, no problem. I would buy one just like it. The problems I have is paying an absorbent amount of money for the equivalent saw, but it having the name of Echo or STIHL or Husqvarna on it. That saw is going to cost you around $1,000 or more. You can get these things on Amazon. We'll put a link on the description. But I'm pretty impressed with it. I really am. Runs really well, as you can tell. I can't imagine what this thing's going to be like when we get it on 40-to-1. But I'm very impressed. It is similar to the STIHL MS380, which is a pro saw. It's 72 cc's. It's not very heavy, but if you're getting a big saw like this, you can expect some weight. With the bar technology, this bar, it appears to be one solid piece of stainless steel that was milled, which is pretty impressive, and that is expensive. It does have a replaceable sprocket tip on it, which is good. It's a good looking saw. It runs good. What else can you ask for? You can, I'm sure, modify it, do all kinds of things with this saw, and get even more power out of them. But I'm looking forward to using this saw. If you've got any questions or anything, put them in the comments below. We'll get to them as quick as we can. If you want any other information about it, contact me also, and I'll help you out as much as I can. But again, I hope you enjoy the video. If you like what we do, please like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, share us on social media. We appreciate it. This is stuff we do all the time. Well, in the winter anyway. We cut a lot of wood in the winter. But we do all kinds of other things here when it comes to farming, vegetables and animals. But stay tuned, and we hope to see you back again. Please like, subscribe, share. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.